All right, everyone. Comcast has begun to try to throttle Lauraloomer and prevent her from communicating with her fans, with her constituents. And it's funny because she points this out, that actually the person she's running against in the Florida district that ironically includes the Mar-a-Lago and is now Trump's de facto address for all intents and purposes, actually has been publicly thanked by Comcast and also owns stock in the company. This is election interference, and if this were, again, shoe on the other foot, let's say Lauraloomer were a Democrat, all of the leftists would cry foul and say it was corporate election interference. Comcast is, by the way, to my knowledge, still the least popular corporation in the entire United States, the most lowly ranked one, like as far as customer satisfaction. There's a reason for that. I would ask Congress, are you going to look into the possibility that this is, by the way, actually illegal for them to be doing? I would think that if you've got a mainline candidacy, fully registered, recognized as legitimate under election law, the presumable front runner in the race, by the way, she's actually appears to be winning. I would think that if a tech firm, an ISP, is throttling their ability to communicate with their constituents, unless they are also doing it to all other involved parties within that race, I would think that that constitutes something that would be blatantly illegal. The problem is when things like this happen, usually what happens is retroactively they are declared illegal, but the damage has already been done. So you can expect them to keep doing this through the election, and then if there's ever an investigation and someone says, well, you know, some wonky shit happened, say, oh yeah, it was improper, she probably should be the actual winner because she was fighting with both arms tied behind her back, but it's all retrospective, and then they do a civil settlement sort of thing. And Comcast loves that, because if they can have someone who owns stock in Comcast sitting in Congress, it's beneficial. It's someone, you know, it's easy to hire lobbyists, but it's cheaper if you have someone who's doing direct business with you in there, because then they're going to tend to listen to you and look out for your interests. Nobody wants to screw the company that they hold stock in, right? Well, there's your conflict. Personally, I don't think people in Congress should be able to own stocks at all. I don't think that I think they should have to divest themselves from the stock market and from any business ties of that type. Like Trump, he had to essentially distance himself from Trump's empire, Trump Incorporated or whatever it's called. He had to, or at least the general idea is that he should. There's a strong encouragement because of all the entanglements. You don't want the President of the United States, especially having significant fiscal ties to foreign firms. That'd be a problem. Why should it be different for Congress? I don't think that it should be. And by the way, Lauraloomer is not an out there individual. She basically sounds like nothing more than a neocon who happens to dislike censorship and like guns more than a standard cuck Republican. Those are really the two main selling points. Find another difference. This is the sort of person that needs to be throttled. Now, what this is that Lauraloomer actually fights against censorship. She was the one that chained herself to Twitter HQ when she got banned there, and they don't like that fact. Comcast wants to be able to censor people. It's part of that same part of the economy that has already widely banned Loomer to begin with. She's been, how many social media sites was she kicked off of? Again, and this is a lukewarm, very general kind of conservatism that she follows. It's very funny. She's more pro-Israel than someone like Jeb Bush, and yet gets called a Nazi on a regular basis. It's very funny how that happens. This is preposterous that this is allowed to happen. I find it funny. People are rambling. They take magnifying glasses and they stare over at Russia. How did they interfere with the election? Oh, a couple 100,000 in Facebook ads and a couple shitpost memes on 4chan. That's a major problem. Has huge ramifications, huge fallout for the whole nation. Oh, a person who's actually the front runner for a major congressional district is being throttled by a $1 billion private corporation. The one that her opponent happens, by the way, coincidentally to hold stock in. There's nothing wrong here. It's not even going to be in the, like, do you think CNN's going to cover it? Investigation into Comcast over possible conflict of interests in Florida House race. I'm going to talk about it. If she wins anyway, it'll be really funny. If Lauraloomer wins, and I hope she does, if I were there, I'd vote for her. If she wins, is she going to continue to be disallowed from all of these other sites? So you're telling me that a sitting member of Congress is still not allowed to have like a Twitter page or a YouTube account? Or you know, any of these, or use MasterCard or PayPal? I think they've blocked her. She can't even, apparently she can't use Uber at the same time. So when you can't get an Uber, when you're disallowed from that, Don't you think the political correctness may have gone a little bit far? I don't even know exactly why they're banning her. Like, nothing that she says really is that far out there other than on censorship, which has become one of the main issues for, I think, parts of the dissident right. I think anti-censorship is the big one. Of course, I've been saying that for, the last fucking 10 years. I think I had a video on the dark ages of the internet a la censorship and stuff like that, I think back halfway through Obama's second term or something. It was like the fucking 2000s, I think I was already covering that. And not long after. Back around 2011, I know I started making videos on that. Because Ron Paul fans were being censored. Ron Paul was a great dude. It's funny. This is why you know that I'm not actually Razorfist, because he's crazy and thinks that Herman Cain was a more viable potential candidate. Hell, we could finally have a debate on something. That or pineapple pizza. I happen to believe that it's acceptable if it's made properly. He thinks it can't be made properly. It is an abomination. We're not the same person. Believe it or not. The truth is stranger than fiction. But, I mean, again, if she were a liberal individual, or a progressive, certainly, and this were happening, they'd cry bloody murder about it. Oh my God, Comcast, which is an evil corporation that everyone hates, including most of their customers, is trying to block this progressive voice for diversity and change from taking a seat in Congress. Oh my God, help, we need an investigation. We need a law passed to stop this from happening. Hashtag believe her. Hashtag Comcast sucks. Instead, crickets. Absolutely goddamn nothing except for some supposedly extreme, fanatic, really problematic far-right content creators who endorse alt-tech, and that's where Nazis gather. It's funny, Lauraloomer has to use sites that are supposedly entirely overrun by white nationalists, while again being an exceptionally Zionistic Jewish individual. A self-proclaimed Zionist in her case. How fucking hilarious is that? Oh my God. It's Comcast. I mean, if this were a company that, like most people have a reasonably positive view of sites like Microsoft and Google and stuff. It's declining over time as they alienate more people, but it's definitely more positive than Comcast. That'd be one thing. Maybe they could get away with it. But I mean, how many people are actually happy with their Comcast service? It seems like even people who have stuck with them for 20 years fucking hate their own guts. Partially because of the difficulty of actually getting through to a representative or canceling a contract. Like, you have to go through hoops for 1,000 years in order to cancel your Comcast payments. That's about all. Peace out.